let's understand this. Just focus all your thoughts on this diagram. This is very important. This is the flow of jobs in say how does the job tracker work, how does the task tracker work. Okay, so basically what happens is the user will first copy files into DFS, which is move data into the Hadoop DFS, right, or the HDFS, right. Then it will submit the jobs. It will submit a job to the client. This is the user which is submitting a job to the client. Okay, how does it happen? We'll look into the next class. Now, the next important step is that the client will get the input file about information about the input files. Okay, based on that, it will create the splits. So the user is you or I. Okay, who is the user? The user is you and I. Okay, then it will create the splits on that file. Okay, now how are these splits created? What are the considerations behind creating these splits? I will be telling you in class 3, not right now. But just assume that okay, user is the person who is using the client. Okay, client is a software. A client is a, say, your command line interface or a Java interface. User is the person who is using it. Okay. Okay. Now the client is the client will be creating splits on this complete file. Okay. Now, second thing will be the whole data. Say for example, if you had to do some analysis on that complete data, you will divide that data into blocks or splits. Files are not copied through client. Files are copied using, say, Scoop or Flume or any external client. Okay. Okay. Ankit. So files will be loaded into the DFS using a lot of mechanisms. We will be looking at data loading techniques in the next class. So as I said, right, not everything you will be able to understand in this class. Just try to concentrate on what I'm saying for now. Okay. These files are copied into the DFS. Client is something which interacts with the DFS. Okay. So these files are copied into the DFS. The client is going to split these files based on some considerations, which I'm not telling you today. I'll be telling you in class 3. And this whole data will be divided into multiple splits. Okay. On these splits, you will be running a job. Now this job will be basically a MapReduce kind of job. Okay. And job.jar or job.xml contains that actual job, the Java program which will be run on this. Okay. So this will be contained in this. Okay. Then once you've submitted the job will actually be submitted through a job tracker. Okay. The job tracker is the master daemon which runs on the name node, which will be responsible for splitting running these jobs onto multiple data nodes. Okay. Now this data may be lying on the DFS on multiple data nodes. It is the responsibility of the job tracker to take care of that. Okay. So I'll move ahead now. Just hold on with whatever you've understood. I'm sure you'll understand the complete flow once I'm done with it. So next file, your client has submitted the job on job tracker. This has come from the earlier file itself. What you do now is that the job is initialized on the job queue. Okay. The job tracker creates maps and reduces. The maps and reduces are created based on what is contained in a map and what is contained in a reduced is determined by this job.jar, which is written in your Java. Okay. So in your what will contain in the map function, what will contain in the reduce function is written in your program. Based on your program, the job tracker will create the map tasks and the reduce tasks. Okay. So these map tasks and reduce tasks will be run on these input splits. Okay. So number of map tasks will be equivalent to the number of input splits. Now you remember these input splits were created by the client based on some considerations which I have not told you, but this will be the input. This input split will contain the whole data. Okay. The whole data which you had on the DFS is divided into these input splits, and each of this input split will have a map job running here. So you can assume an input split to be like a poll booth. Okay. And a map task will be running on that input split to do some analysis over it, and the output of the map task will go into the reduce task. Okay. As we saw earlier as well. Go back to our analogy of that polling and you will come to know about it. Okay. So on this file what we saw, the task was submitted based on your definition of the map and the reduce task which were there in this Java file. your map and the reduced tasks were created. The number of map tasks is equal to the number of input splits which were there. On each input split, a map task will be run, okay, and the number of reduced tasks will be generated based on the number of reducers you've defined, as well as the output of this map task will go to the reducer, okay, and the job tracker will be tracking all these things happening, okay, fine. Next, what happens? The job tracker, okay, what is initialized job? You initialize a job on the job queue, okay. So basically, the job tracker is initializing a job on the job queue. Okay, there's a question, the ability to define the number of reducers lies with whom? It is configurable as well, okay. You can define it in your Java program as well. Let's not get into that right now, okay, but okay, let's move ahead. Now these map tasks are actually have to run on a where will these map tasks run actually? So through the task tracker it will be running on the data node. Very good. So on the splits are where? Splits are present in the data node, right? Very good. So till now I think you've understood. Is the same instance of map job assigned to all input splits? No, there will be multiple instances of map jobs. Each map instance will be assigned to one input split, okay. So everyone is clear with this? These are the map tasks which have to ultimately run on the data node, okay. Let's go ahead and let's see what happens here. Now this is your job queue, okay. This is your job queue where the job tracker is running. What the job tracker is going to do is that it will look at, I have to run this particular task on this particular data, okay. Now it will look at whatever is the, it will pick task tracker, whichever task tracker contains the data on which it has to run it, and there can be multiple replications of that. So it will try to pick the most local data as possible and run that map task on that particular task tracker, okay. So the task tracker is the one which actually runs that task or the map task on the data node, okay. Task tracker, the job tracker will pass on this information to the task tracker, and task tracker will be running that job, the map task on that data node, okay. Is there a direct relation between splits and data nodes? Maps and input splits are same, okay. Two questions have come, I'll answer one by one. Input split is the split of the data, map is the program which is run on that data, okay. So they are not same. Map is the program which will be running on the input split, and input split is created from the whole data set which you have, okay. Now input splits will be residing on the data nodes, but how do you split on based on what consideration, whether you should split based on block size or whatever? We will be looking at that in class 3. Okay, I'll be answering that question in class 3. Input split is done by the client itself. Okay, so let's not worry how the input split is done. For now, just assume that the whole data is divided into multiple input splits. On each input split, one map task will be run. Great. Okay, so let's move ahead and let's see what happens once the job has been assigned to the task tracker. Now the job has been assigned to the task tracker. What the job tracker has to ensure. So now what happens here is that there is a heartbeat associated with each task tracker with the job tracker. Now the job tracker, what it does is it keeps on sending heartbeats to the task tracker to figure out whether the data node is still alive or not. Now we know that it is very much possible that the data node may die. Okay, it is on the commodity hardware, so it is possible. Don't worry, Ananda, I'll make sure that it is clear. I know some of these concepts will not be clear because there is the complete architecture of Hadoop including MapReduce. So it is very much possible that you may not be completely clear on this now. Going forward, as we move in by class 3, everything will be clear. So just hold on if you have not understood everything. Okay, but wait. But let's see how it is working here. I'll repeat this as well. This is the last file on this particular topic. So how does the job tracker come to know that the task is really running? What it does is it keeps on sending a heartbeat. Okay, and if it gets a heartbeat back, it knows that it is running. Like the way I keep asking you, is it clear to everyone? The job tracker sends heartbeat to task tracker. The job tracker will always be talking to the task tracker. Data node is the node on which the task tracker will be running. Okay, And if it sees that, okay, there is a task tracker which is not giving me a heartbeat back, I'll know that, okay, this particular task tracker is gone. So I'll assign this task to some other task tracker where the same data is replicated. So, so let me quickly repeat this once again so that everyone is clear, because this is very important, and this is very important to understand. So I will repeat this once again. Okay, what will happen if job tracker fails? Job tracker failing means name node is failed. So you know what happens then, right? Job queue has all the jobs which are associated with the task trackers. Okay, let's look at how does it happen. The user is you and I. You move your data into DFS in the Hadoop. Yes, it is that way always. Okay, so user is you and I, and let's understand this. Then I'll take questions once again. Okay, user is you and I. You move your data into the DFS using, say, Scoop or Flume or whatever mechanism. You can copy the entire data. There are multiple data loading techniques. We'll understand them in the class 2. And then on this data, you want to do some analysis. So you submit a job to the client. The client, the first thing it does is it gets the file input files info. That what is the size, where are they located, all that info it will get. Then the client will divide this complete data into multiple splits. I have told you earlier, how is this splitting done? I will not be explaining today. I'll be explaining that in the class 3. Okay. So client will split the complete data into multiple input splits. Then it will upload the job information. Job information means that whatever program I wanted to run, say for example, if I want to do a poll counting, then the map task will contain count the polls there, the reduce task will contain do the consolidation. If I wanted to do the encryption, the map task will contain the encryption algorithm, and there will be no reduce task, right? So all that is contained in this job.jar, which is a Java program and nothing else. Okay. And then the job will be submitted to the job tracker. Job tracker runs on the name node. Job tracker knows that where all the data is stored, where are the task trackers running, okay, and how do I send the data to all these. Okay, so this is submitted to the job tracker. Let's get to the next one. The next one says you submit the job. It's the same replication of the same thing, earlier repetition here. So submit the job to the job tracker. What does job tracker do? Job tracker is going to read the job files. These job files are basically nothing but the map task and the reduce task. Okay. Okay. Copy of input file doesn't happen through client. No. Copy of input file happens through say a external. You can copy it through Scoop, Flume. It is like moving data into the DFS. That's one question. Let's be very clear about it. Don't worry too much about it. We'll be telling you various data loading techniques in the class 2. Okay. Second question, when a user copies into DFS, is the data getting stored into data nodes? That's right. Now the third question, who creates the job files? The job files are created, Avni, by you and me, people who will be writing the MapReduce program. So this is nothing but the jar file of the actual program which you would have written. Okay. This will be, depending upon your use case, whatever program you want to write, whatever logic you want to write, this will be contained in this. Using the job files, you will be creating maps and reduce jobs. Okay. Job file will tell you what should be done in a map task and what should be done in the reduce task. How many reducers are required? That is all a map reduce job will contain. Okay. Right? For now, just understand the splits are done by the client based on some considerations. Then based on what is written in the job, you create a map and a reduce task. And the number of map tasks will be equal to the number of input splits. Each of the input split which is created will be on that a particular map task will be run. Okay. The output of that map task will go to the reduce task. Okay. Is this clear then? Then once you've created those map tasks and the reduce tasks, you have to run those tasks. Okay. Vijayan is asking me, user might do different analysis, how job tracker will know what jar file should read in step 8. So when you run a MapReduce task, you will be giving a specific jar along with it. So you will be running a program on Hadoop, right? That program, whatever jar file you give, that analysis will be done. We are assuming that this is an input to Hadoop, that this is the job I want to run. Is that clear, Vijayan? If you run a poll mechanism, then it will be done. If you run a encryption algorithm, then the job will contain the encryption files. Okay. Now, once you've created the maps, you have to run them. Where will these be run? Don't worry about job.xml right now. I'll be telling you that in class 3. Okay. Just assume that it contains job related information. It contains Java program. Just assume that. Okay. Then you will have to run these. How do you run these? You will be running. Now this will be put in a job queue, which will be governed by the job tracker. The job tracker will assign these tasks to the task trackers, which will be running these particular map jobs, map tasks on different data nodes where the input split is actually residing. Okay, is that statement clear to everyone? That after the maps have been created, they will be run by the job tracker on the task tracker. Okay, ultimately on the input split which is residing on the data node. Now, since we know that these are commodity hardwares on which these jobs are running, there's a chance of failure also happening, right? So keep a track on what is failing and what is not failing. The job tracker keeps on sending heartbeats. Okay, so let me get a heartbeat from everyone. Has everyone understood this part? Can I quickly get a heartbeat, guys? So I've got a heartbeat from a lot of people now. Okay, almost everyone has given me a heartbeat. Good. So this is a heartbeat. If someone doesn't give me a heartbeat, for example, Richa did not give me a heartbeat, I will assume that Richa would have probably lost her connection. Okay, and I'll not ask a question from her, but I'll ask that question from Avni, for example. That's what the job tracker also does. Okay, is that clear, guys?